So, I really wanted to discuss something that's kind of taken lightheartedly in this film. Becky telling Anya that the divorce is horrible and all that kind of thing, and just like a child's interpretation of that. And it really sets this whole movie in motion. It's kind of like a mature theme in this film that kind of presented in a humor way. And I was wondering your thoughts on this whole concept, really, about
I
divorce. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a really good interesting topic to tackle, um because it really feels like Anya doesn't completely understand what divorce is. She just knows that it could like be bad, like, oh, they're gonna fight. And it is such an interesting way to tackle kind of a heavy topic. It's interesting how Becky sees it as this thing where it's like, oh, it's such an inconvenience, and Anya is like, huh, okay. But then she kind of grasps towards the end that, like, oh, this is like a thing that could end the family. And so yeah, I think it's really interesting how they tackle it with kind of through a child's eyes. And I feel like they do it in a way where it's very understandable and also very like almost like humanizing in a way. It's really interesting how they tackle those kind of heavy topics like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and to you, Natalie, of course, Yor has the whole fear that Lloyd's going to leave her, or maybe he's cheating on her, fake marriage or not, so to speak. And I was wondering what it took for you to produce that kind of voice full of heartache and anxiousness throughout the film.
I mean, a lot of it is kind of channeling into yours already existing anxieties that at any given moment, if she's not good enough or she doesn't live up to what she thinks are the expectations for a like picture perfect wife that Loid is, ideally looking for, because she's thinking about this as purely nothing more than a ruse and she's performing a part. And if she's not a good enough actor in that part, she's going to lose the part. And um as an actor, that's pretty familiar. Like you're like terrified, it's never grounded in reality most of the time, but you're like, oh, if I mess up or I don't do good, they're gonna recast me and they're never gonna work with me again and they're gonna hate me. So I feel like some of that's a very, very direct sort of through line to what we do as actors. Now obviously Yor and Loid have a much deeper and more complicated relationship than just that. And you can tell there's kind of definitely more feelings. They've lived together for a while now. They've clearly established a really comfortable, happy relationship together. And I think the fear of losing that is genuine because it is clearly this very lovely thing that they share. So I think it's kind of thinking through that. And then, just from a performance standpoint, the more anxious Yor gets, just kind of adding a lot more breathiness, and my dogs are screaming in the other room. But adding a lot more breathiness and nervousness, and then his voice starts to creep up, and then it just kind of channels that. But then also that understanding that her desire to stay in the family is not so much like personally selfish, like she's getting anything out of it, but it has been so fulfilling for her that the idea of losing it genuinely gets her, like really gets to something deep within her that she's still trying to figure out too.
Yeah. For you, Megan, do you channel some kind of, in traditional acting, of course, they have sense memory. And I was wondering if you channel some kind of childhood memory to really get that innocent soundscape of Anya's vocals, really, because it's really noticeable how innocent you've crafted Anya. So
Yeah, she definitely is she's such a child, like, and she's written so well as just being a simple child, even with having this superhuman ability of reading other people's minds. And yeah, it all comes down to her also just being a kid. And I think that's the charm of her, is that through it all, even with this amazing ability, she is just a kid at the end of the day. And it doesn't help her magically be smarter or understand things on a higher level. She just knows things, whether she knows what it means or not. And yeah, and so there's a lot of like little things that I've done to kind of capture that I guess, childlikeness. Because a lot of times kids are just like stream of conscious thought, and they will just tell you what they think, whether it's good or bad or ugly. Like, they don't care. They're just going to tell you exactly what's on their mind. They have no filter. And so it's an interesting thing to do, especially with how we create the English dub, where we have a set script in front of us and we have to say a certain amount of words so that all of the lip flaps look good. And so there's a lot of walking the line between, okay, I have to fill these lip flaps up in a very specific way, but I also have to make her still have that fun and carefree like thought and feeling to her voice. So it's a really interesting line to walk, with trying to make something that's very scripted also feel not scripted. So yeah, it's really fun to do, and I just kind of get to be silly and goofy. So yeah, I love it.
Did you get a kick out of the whole got a toilets kind of
Oh,
scene?
oh, absolutely. That was such the most childlike thing ever. It was so hilarious, and I was cackling between every take because it was so good.
Well, what was the LA premiere like? The live audience reception, and have you done that before, where you sat in for like? Oh, so it was first time for both of you then? Oh, what was
Yeah,
that like?
it was really cool because normally, like, whenever you're in an anime and it comes out, it's normally releasing on a streaming service, and you're just kind of watching it in the privacy of your own home whenever it comes out. And then, I mean, you can go on like Twitter or something like that and get an idea of what people think from there. And when we travel and meet people at like conventions and stuff, we can also meet face to face. But to have that experience of sitting in the room in real time and consuming it all with people who many of whom seem to be already existing fans of the show already, was really, really kind of absolutely magical, honestly. To just have that in real time and to see that people enjoy this as much as we do.
Yeah, it was definitely such a surreal experience because, yeah, a lot of times we don't get the privilege of like sitting in a room full of people that have already watched it or are just as big of fans as we are. Because like Natalie said, a lot of it is either just online or if people we happen to meet when we travel for work. And so, yeah, it's crazy getting to be in a whole room of people who maybe haven't seen the movie yet, and we all get to experience it together for the first time, and it was crazy. It was kind of so surreal and so magical to have that experience because, yeah, we don't get to do it very often. So yeah, it was great.
Oh, awesome. Are you both going to be in the SPY Anya? Is there going to be a dub for the video game coming up, or has there been any kind of announcement?
Honestly, we told someone else, we said we're usually the last people to find anything out because usually recording something is the last part of the process for us. And so we haven't had any word on if it's going to get a dub or not, but we love doing video games and we love getting to do crossovers and things like that when, we have a chance to do so. So yeah, hopefully we would love to do it. Because it looks so cute and adorable, and I'm still
Yeah.
going to play it because it looks adorable. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I see I'm out of time, so I appreciate both of you coming to talk today, and it's a great film. I really enjoyed it personally. I really enjoyed the series in general. So
Oh, glad to hear.
Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah, of course.
Thank you.